Once you experience having some things, you come to realize things and stuff doesn't really make you happy. Things and stuff does not make you happy. I came across a video. And this is a reaction to Lil Yachty sitting down with Shannon Sharp. And Yachty really talks about stuff and spending millions of dollars on stuff, only to realize that the stuff didn't make him happy. You acquire all these things, and for what reason? There's a famous quote or famous clip that Will Smith has floating around where he talks about the cliff top experience. And one of the things that Will Smith says is that, once you get to the cliff top, meaning you get to a point in which you literally have access to everything, to anything, right? Anything that you can imagine, you have access to, and you experience that. The problem is you come to realize that none of that stuff makes you happy. And Will Smith made the point that he wishes everyone had that experience, and then they would stop chasing stuff. They would stop chasing the brands. They would stop chasing the luxury items, the cars, the clothes, etc. And they would find what really drives them and focus their attention on that. But when you don't have the things, you feel as if you need to experience the things to generate some semblance of happiness. And what you also come to realize by interacting with individuals who've, again, achieved certain successes and been in some circles of prominence is that it's just another thing to them. Once you get to a certain level, a pair of shoes, whether they're $1,000 pair of shoes or a $20 pair of shoes, it's just a pair of shoes because the money is irrelevant at that point. It's no longer a status symbol. There's a guy, his name is Ray Flemings, and he has a luxury concierge service. And one of the things that he talks about is that his clientele, they are what's called post-luxury. And he gave the example. He said, when you can buy Ferrari, the company, you're no longer impressed when somebody drives up in a Ferrari, the car. And when you put on luxury items and when you quote unquote floss or you flex by wearing a brand that everybody knows is super expensive or super exclusive, the only people that you impress are those that can't afford to be there. Outside of that, it's just another shirt. It's just another hat. It's just another pair of earrings. It's just another car. The item, the thing, doesn't bring you happiness. That's the part that we really have to all realize. And the other part to it is this. A lot of times we seek certain brands or we want to have certain items in our wardrobe, so to speak, but those things have been sold to us. So a lot of people don't understand the concept of scarcity, right? Some brands really aren't that much, much more of a higher quality. They just have done a great job marketing, but they've also done a great job of having scarcity in the marketplace. Meaning, if you think about supply and demand, when you limit the supply, the demand goes up. More people want it because there's fewer options out there. On the flip side, if you mass produce it and everybody has access to it, typically the value goes down because anybody can get that. There's this psychological thing that we have inside of us that exclusivity kind of triggers, right? It's like, I'm one of the only ones, or I'm one of the few that has this, or I'm the only one that has access to this thing. And there's an appeal to that. And that kind of plays on our desires of being, top tier and being highly valued. But the reality is some brands and some marketing strategists utilize that, and we don't realize that you're not buying something of higher quality. You've just been manipulated utilizing scarcity. I want to throw something out at you here. Think about this. Yes, there are different price points for various cars, but I want you to think about what I just mentioned regarding scarcity as you think about cars. Pay attention to how many cars Toyota, the Toyota Motor Company, manufactures annually. It's somewhere in like the $4 million range, right? Now look at how many cars Mercedes manufactures. It's roughly 2 million, right? Now, if you slide it up a little bit more, think about how many new productions or new cars Rolls-Royce produces every year. It's like, I want to say it's like 4,000, right? And now let's slide it up even more. How many cars, how many Bugattis are delivered each year that are manufactured in that year? It's like roughly, I think 80, 60 to 80. If you look at the price point, the average cost of a new Toyota is, let's just say 35,000, right? Look at a Mercedes. The average cost of a Mercedes is probably what, about 70,000, right? Look at it. Half the amount gets produced. Let's slide it up. Think about a Rolls Royce. A Rolls Royce is probably 4 times or 5 times the cost of a Mercedes. But look at it. The Rolls Royce company only produces roughly 4,000. I think it's 4,000, somewhere in that area per year. So therefore, a Rolls Royce is more expensive. But is it more expensive because it's a higher quality or because there's so few of them produced? And then take it up to the next level where a new Bugatti might cost you a couple of million. But if they're only producing 60 to 80 of those annually, excuse me, if they're only producing 60 to 80 of those annually, then you have to look at the level of scarcity. If only 80 are going to get produced, they can charge multiple millions because there's 8 billion people in the world and only 80 of these getting produced this year. So sometimes it's, yes, that thing is of higher quality. In other instances, it's simply a game of scarcity. And we get sold this bag of goods with regard to consumption. But hear what Lil Yachty says about spending money, and we'll come back to this concept.
Do tell people, it's like, man, bro, save your money, because I don't care about any of this stuff. I got thousands of tennis shoes that I'll never win. Eventually they'll go bad.
Yeah.
You know, like they will.
I end up selling just sold like in November like 313 pair.
You feel me? Like, and it's just that you just do.
Yeah.
Right? Having all them cars, they go bad because the weather conditions. They're sitting outside. Fucking, I go through these different phases. Like one time I went through a phase, I bought every video game system console ever made. Why? And it wasn't like I was buying them, like just buying them used. Like I need them in pristine, brand new condition. So I was spending the top dollar, and it's just sitting in a corner. You know, I had a weird obsession with toys at one point, like collectibles, and it's just sitting in a box, and it's like in boxes, and it's like I spent like thousands and thousands. I go so crazy and obsessed, and then like I never do nothing with this stuff. So I always tell people, like, right, even jewelry. In the beginning of my career, I was spending millions on custom jewelry that like it's just worth nothing, you know. Or in my
So think about this. We talked about scarcity, right? Meaning sometimes things appear to be of a higher value because, you know, we think that they're produced a certain way and all of that. But the reality is it's a restriction of supply. But then on the flip side, like Yachty was talking about, sometimes we just get into this rut of having to buy stuff because we're sold that if we're at a certain level, we're supposed to have 1,000 pairs of shoes. We're supposed to have 20 cars in the driveway. We're supposed to have millions of dollars in jewelry. It's irrelevant, but the whole point of it is we're being sold this narrative by individuals who either have come before us and have kind of set that standard, or the real deal, you're being sold this by brands who want you to go down this pathway of overconsumption because that then feeds their financial engine, right? We have to be mindful of messaging. You know, if you're a person who's really into cars, like you're the kid who was always tinkering with cars growing up and you're always fascinated by cars, you might be the one that has a full garage of cars once you're in a position to, you know, to financially afford that, right? If you're a person who is really in the world of sneakers and you're a sneakerhead, etc., you might be the one that has an abundance of sneakers, right? But if that's not your thing, don't feel the need to get swayed into going down that pathway just because you've hit a certain socioeconomic status. That's you being sold. That's not you leaning into something that you're really into. And the reality is, once you've been sold and you're sold something that really is not in alignment with who you are, you also get to a point in which you get disappointed and disillusioned in the thing, and you come to realize that all this stuff means nothing. So take a little lesson from Yachty, man. This was a really cool thing, and I wish more individuals who are of prominence would speak more about it, because there are so many people who aren't at that level who are striving to get there, and they're really only striving to get there so that they have the perception of being successful. And the perception of being successful is for other people who are looking at them, not for them and their peace of mind. That's where the challenge comes in, because you cannot buy joy. You might be able to buy temporary happiness. Remember, happiness and sadness comes and comes and goes. Joy is the thing that's eternal. That is something that you can't purchase, nor will you find it, at a clothing store, at a car dealership, or, at a jewelry, manufacturer, right? You won't find it there. The only place that you can find joy is the peace within. And for me, I've come to realize that my peace comes from Jesus, right? Like having a relationship with God is where my joy comes from, because that's the thing that doesn't change in the midst of the ups and downs of life, right? Have fun, buy nice things, but don't get swayed into the nice things, because sometimes the perception of the nice things has nothing to do with whether or not they're nicer than the things that you have. Sometimes it is a legitimate marketing job, and they're utilizing scarcity, because that creates FOMO, the fear of missing out. And if someone is fearful of missing out, they will jump through hoops to make something happen immediately. And honestly, that strategy, hook, line, and sinker. That's the goal. But anyway, y'all take some notes from this thing. Hope you learned something. And as always, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. Subscribe to the channel. Go be the quarterback of your mindset. I'll holler at you. Peace.